One more thing to add. Hi, girls. What's going on? It's me, Jay. One more thing to add about the Sami Zayn thing. I think that the Sami Zayn storyline should be built up from now till WrestleMania 42 in New Orleans. And Sammy makes a perfect candidate to conclude his story at WrestleMania 42 by defeating Seth Rollins for the WWE Championship. Now, how I would do this is I would have John Cena form a temporary alliance with Seth Rollins, and then finally have Cena get turned on by Rollins and Heyman. And then uh, Rollins defeats John Cena for the championship. Now Rollins is the WWE champion. So then you have Sammy in Saudi Arabia. Now think of this. Picture this, guys. It works out perfectly. This is what I would do. Like I'm saying, you get to SummerSlam. John Cena has formed an alliance with John Cena gets help from the Dangerous Alliance to defeat Randy Orton at Backlash. He defeats Randy Orton at Backlash. It fits right in because you have Randy Orton and Seth Rollins. They have that history. It was Seth Rollins, after he turned on the Shield, who replaced Randy Orton as the hand-picked guy for the Authority. It was Seth Rollins and Randy Orton 10 years ago had their match at WrestleMania 31, the famous RKO. So Rollins gets his revenge on Randy by finally helping John Cena, his ultimate nemesis, to finally vanquish Randy and expunge Randy's name from WWE. Then that's SummerSlam. That's Backlash. Then you book a tag team match with Randy Orton and a partner of his choosing to go against Seth Rollins and John Cena. And who's going to be his partner? Who's going to be the mystery opponents the mystery partner that Randy Orton chooses? It will be main event Jey Uso. Right? So the Dangerous Alliance, with Cena together with them, injure but they injure Sami Zayn before. They injure Jey Uso before the match, so Jey Uso is unable to compete. You forget about the mystery opponent step. First, you make the match with Uso, but they take out Jey Uso so badly. They injure Jey Uso. So who do you have return? You have return none other than Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is the tag team partner for you have Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes going against Seth Rollins and John Cena at SummerSlam. Seth Rollins and John Cena win. Then, or you could swap either Cody Rhodes or Roman Reigns. Then you have, finally, the Royal Rumble. You get to the Royal Rumble. Sami Zayn in Saudi Arabia, an Arab American wrestler in Saudi Arabia, wins the Royal Rumble, and he becomes the number one contender to Seth Rollins' championship at WrestleMania. Because in between the time, the alliance between John Cena and Seth Rollins breaks up, and then finally, John Cena has to turn babyface again because it's the end of Cena's run. He gets defeated by Seth Rollins. Say that happens at the Royal Rumble, right? He gets turned on. They betray him and they win the championship. So they're leaving out of the Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia with Seth Rollins as the champion. Then, then you have Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins as going into WrestleMania 42. And at WrestleMania 42, despite all the hurdles that they've put in front of Sammy this entire year with recruiting John Cena, with recruiting Travis Scott, and maybe even having The Rock interfere a little bit, because let's say hypothetically The Rock comes back to face Roman Reigns and you involve Roman Reigns somehow in this storyline. But Sammy says, I'm going to do it in New Orleans. I'm going to do it in the place where the last person who had a lot of hurdles put in front of them, Daniel Bryan. And they can't mention Bryan Danielson, I know, because of AEW. But the fans will know, right? And in that same arena, in that same place where Daniel Bryan had all those obstacles placed in front of him, Sami Zayn overcomes. A French speaker overcoming in New Orleans, Louisiana. Could you imagine that, guys? So you build it up where you have Logan Paul also joining the Dangerous Alliance. Logan Paul, now a heel, feuding with Jey Uso. And Logan Paul be the one to take the World Heavyweight Championship off Jey Uso, let's say at SummerSlam, right? Because, okay, scrap what I said about Randy Orton and Jey Uso uh, forming a tag team. Let's say you have Logan Paul join the Dangerous Alliance, and Logan Paul then takes the World Heavyweight Championship off of Jey Uso at SummerSlam when he's accompanied by the host of SummerSlam, Cardi B, at MetLife Stadium. So you got to have a big return. So either have Roman Reigns return or Cody Rhodes return as Randy Orton's partner to go against John Cena and Seth Rollins. John Cena has aligned himself with the Dangerous Alliance, and have that alliance last at least until Survivor Series, and then have the Dangerous Alliance turn on John Cena. Now, you have uh, John Cena putting his championship up against Seth Rollins, and Braun Breaker makes it possible that Seth Rollins becomes the WWE champion. So Seth Rollins is my vision is Seth Rollins is walking into WrestleMania 42 as the WWE champion, going against the challenger who's trying to overcome the odds, Sami Zayn. And Sami Zayn will overcome the odds. So you build it up for a year. You involve John Cena, you involve Roman Reigns, you involve Cody Rhodes, you involve all these players, and you involve Jey Uso, and you involve Logan Paul, all these players coming together. And then by the end of it, by the time you get to the buildup of WrestleMania 30, WrestleMania 43, I don't know where it's going to be, right, in the future, in 2027, you will have Braun Breaker turning on Seth Rollins, and you will have WrestleMania. You'll have your WrestleMania 43 main event. Braun Breaker winning his first championship in 2027. So you have a year's worth of build, but you got. I think you should involve John Cena in this alliance storyline. Makes perfect sense to me. But the Royal Rumble 2026 must end with Sami Zayn winning the Royal Rumble because it's perfect. Sami Zayn is an Arab American winning the Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia. I mean, could you imagine how the crowd would go crazy? The first international Royal Rumble ever, held overseas with in the Arab world with an Arab American winning, and then winning in New Orleans, a French-based city, and Sami Zayn speaks French, and he winning in the same city where Daniel Bryan did it in 2014, and he overcame the odds. I mean, come on, guys, the story writes itself. And then you have Cena, who is going to be bowing out. So Cena has to drop the belt as a babyface again. So just align him with Rollins and have him turn on Rollins, and Braun Breaker turn on him. And that gives them the rub working with Cena. That's how I would book this. So the end of Backlash, of course, Randy gets screwed by the Dangerous Alliance. They come in, they join forces with John Cena. then you go into SummerSlam, and you have John Cena and Seth Rollins versus Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes, or Randy Orton and The Rock, either one, right? And then you have and you have them win, right? You have them win, and then you have Rollins and John Cena forming this alliance until John Cena gets fed up with them. You bring it to War Games, Survivor Series, and it ends at War Games. Say you bring back Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam, then you wait till you wait till you wait till Survivor Series to bring Roman back. So you have your babyface tag team of Jacob Fatu, your baby your babyface tag team of Jacob Fatu, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, and Randy Orton going against your heel team in War Games of John Cena, Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, and Logan Paul. The Dangerous Alliance, and it breaks up at War Games because John Cena, they lose War Games and they blame John Cena. They start beating up on John Cena. So that leads to a match that'll lead to a match at the Royal Rumble between John Cena and Seth Rollins. And then finally the Dangerous Alliance will get the better of Cena, driving Cena out of the WWE, and finally Seth Rollins as the new WWE champion. So, and on that same night at the Royal Rumble, Sami Zayn wins the Royal Rumble, and he now goes on to WrestleMania to take on Seth Rollins. So you start building here from Backlash with Orton, and you involve Cena in this whole Dangerous Alliance storyline. Because keep in mind, the promo that Rollins cut, he mentioned John Cena, he mentioned Roman Reigns, he mentioned CM Punk, he mentioned Jey Uso, he mentioned all these players. So you got to involve all these players. And Logan Paul, this would be a good rub for him. You know what I mean? To beat Jey Uso for the championship. So this is how, again, going over it again, this is how I have it booked. Backlash, Cena joins the Dangerous Alliance. Because probably The Rock's not going to be involved because of based on what he said in the Pat McAfee show. So Cena joins the Dangerous Alliance. He's the WWE champion. And then we're all waiting for the turn, right? We're all going to be waiting for the turn when it's finally going to happen. But they team up at SummerSlam. They take on Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes. Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes going against John Cena and Seth Rollins, or Randy Orton and Roman Reigns going up against John Cena and Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. Then we go into Survivor Series, into War Games. Again, the babyface tag team. The babyface team is Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, and Jey Uso, or Jacob Fatu. Probably I would put Jacob Fatu instead of Jey Uso. But you could probably alternate either Jey Uso or Jacob Fatu. I would put more so Jacob Fatu because I mean, if we get those two in War Games, Braun Breaker and Jacob Fatu, hell, we got a hell of a feud right then and there that we can book for WrestleMania on the undercard. So Jacob Fatu, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, and Randy Orton as the babyface tag team. Then you got the heel team of Logan Paul, Seth Rollins, John Cena, and Braun Breaker. That's your War Games match. The Dangerous Alliance will lose War Games with John Cena. They'll lose War Games and they'll blame John Cena, and that will lead to a match between Cena and Seth Rollins. And then the and then the Dangerous Alliance will help Seth Rollins defeat John Cena, and we'll realize that them bringing Cena into the fold, them bringing Cena into the fold was a setup so they could get close to the WWE Championship. So they turned their backs on Cena. So now and Sami Zayn wins the Royal Rumble in 2026 in Saudi Arabia. Now Sami Zayn becomes the only hope to stop the Dangerous Alliance and to completely destroy the Dangerous Alliance. This storyline, I mean, the way I'm envisioning it, guys, I'm having trouble getting it out, really spitting it out. But the way I'm envisioning it, man, if it goes down like this, man, WrestleMania 42 in New Orleans will be one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time. You know what I mean? If Triple H really lays it out like this, the way I'm envisioning it, with Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, Braun Breaker, Logan Paul, Jey Uso, all tied in, it'll be great. I think he fucked up. He fucked up by not doing it at WrestleMania, by not having Seth Rollins align himself with John Cena and having them, the Dangerous Alliance, help Cena and Paul Heyman and Rollins help Cena win the championship. But, you know, they went with the Travis Scott route. It was a letdown, whatever. But, okay, to go over it again, you have Backlash. Cena joins the Dangerous Alliance. They help him defeat Randy Orton because he can't do it on his own, right? And Seth Rollins says Randy Orton is the past. Me, I'm the future. Me, I'm a visionary. And I'm a revolutionary, like he always says. And this is my vision for professional wrestling going forward, right? And I envision John Cena being with me. So Cena becomes a Paul Heyman guy. Then you book a tag team match for SummerSlam, a big tag team main event, just like you had at WrestleMania 40 with big stars. You have Seth Rollins teaming with John Cena to take on Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes, right? Then at War Games, you have Cody Rhodes, Jacob Fatu, Roman Reigns, and Randy Orton going against Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, Logan Paul, and John Cena. Then they as the Dangerous Alliance, then they the Dangerous Alliance, lose the match and they blame it on Cena. That leads to a breakup between Cena and Rollins. Rollins then challenges Cena to a match at the Royal Rumble. Rollins defeats John Cena at the Royal Rumble. And that's the end of John Cena, right? His run is over. That's a year, right? He only promised a year, right? From WrestleMania to WrestleMania, or from Royal Rumble to Royal Rumble. That's the end of John Cena. Now, the same thing he said to Orton, he could say to Cena now. He could say, "Listen, you're the past, I'm the future." So Sami Zayn has to save the day. Sami Zayn wins the Royal Rumble, and he takes on Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 42 in New Orleans. Let's do it. That's a year of build between Rollins and Sami Zayn. Build that up for a year. Keep that momentum going. Oh, you heard it was supposed to be Cody. But I know, but that's lame though. Cody, I would bring Cody back at SummerSlam. Again, I'll say it. This is what I would do. I would bring Cody back at SummerSlam to team with Randy Orton to take on a team of Seth Rollins and John Cena. And I will put off another Cody win. That's the thing. I would have him at the end of it. I would have Cody turn heel because I would have him turn on Randy Orton, or let's say, right? He says, let's say it's the Dangerous Alliance, right? It's say Seth Rollins or Cena, Seth Rollins and Cena with Heyman in the corner, and then Cody says, you know what? At WrestleMania, I did everything for you guys. I tried to keep the WWE Championship from going to John Cena, who's gonna leave the company in a year. But all you did was boo me. You booed me. So you know what? I sought new counsel. I now have in my corner a wise man. And then Cody is the next blaming guy. And then it builds Sammy up even more because now Sammy he's becoming the only babyface that could turn it around, because even though Cena will turn babyface at the end of this year, he's no longer going to be there. So Sammy becomes the guy that the fans really rally behind, because and he overcomes the odds. This this the possibilities, guys. You know, with this Paul Heyman storyline of Paul Heyman's new stable that he's building is so great, because he could be the wise man to a heel Cody. He right, and if you wanted to, like, say, forget Rollins and say Cody becomes the new guy, the new face of. Here's another alternative possibility. Cody becomes the new guy, right? Say, Heyman's always going to the highest bidder. So he's with Rollins now. But let's say he decides that, you know, Cody's better than Rollins. He always goes to the next highest bidder. He turned on Brock to go to Big Show. He turned on Big Show to go with RVD. Turned on RVD. Turned on Punk. He turned on Punk twice, right? Once in 2013 and again, at WrestleMania. He's always turning on everybody. He turned on Brock twice. You know what I mean? So say he turns on Rollins and now he's with Cody. So now you could have Sammy winning the Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia. Like I keep stressing that Saudi Arabia is big and important in Sammy's story because of his ethnicity. It would be a huge thing. You know? um, and Yeah, that would be awesome. And then say you have Cody as the new champion, right? Cody finally gets his win back from Cena at the Royal Rumble. And then you have Cody going into WrestleMania as the champion again from Sami. And then you could tie 2023 into it. Sami could be like, you know what? I was more over, or I was more popular with the fans in 2023 than you, Cody, but they still have felt like they had to put you in the spot, even though I felt like I deserved that match against Roman at WrestleMania 39. But now I'm here to defeat you, and I'm here to finally end this nonsense with the wise man. And then Sammy wins the Royal Rumble. I mean, wins at WrestleMania, defeating Cody. Because if you really think about it, Sammy was the real choice. People wanted to see Sammy defeat Roman. People wanted to see Sammy take Roman down, not Cody. You know, Cody didn't become the choice until the year after at WrestleMania 40, but in 2023 at WrestleMania 39, people really wanted, the fans really wanted Sammy. He was the real choice. He was the organic choice. Cody was WWE's choice. You know? So that way you eliminate John Cena. But imagine War Games. Say you turn Cena back face by War Games, and you switch the War Games one from the one I said. You should still put Jacob Fatu in the War Games against Braun Breaker at War Games. Jacob Fatu should be on one side, the babyface team. They should switch Jacob Fatu to babyface because people see it coming already. People like Jacob Fatu, and people want to see Braun versus Jacob Fatu in any sort of way. Book them in a war. Book them. Braun, of course, he'll be on his side with maybe Rollins, maybe Cody, Paul Heyman's guys, Dangerous Alliance guys, and then Jacob Fatu will probably be there with Roman, let's say, or Cena, right? And I think definitely, I don't know how you feel about this, Master Chef, but I definitely feel like Logan Paul should be one of Paul Heyman's guys as well. Because Logan Paul could really use it. His promos aren't that good. He's all right with promos, but they aren't that good, and he could definitely use the guidance of the wise man. So definitely turn him heel and put him with the wise man. There's a lot of exciting things that they could do in the next year, but with this Paul Heyman storyline. And Triple H is definitely good for that, booking long term, letting stuff cook. Look at the twists and turns the bloodline story took us on. But it led to another boom. 2020 to now was another boom period. It was the third boom period in my lifetime. I I I came in at the tail end of the golden era in 1991, and I lived to see the Attitude Era. I lived to, and then I lived to see this boom era, and it's exciting. Just like it feels exciting again to watch Monday Night Raw from week to week, like it hasn't felt in years. But they have to keep this momentum going. We saw with the Attitude Era a couple of Right. Master Chef said, I heard Cody, Sammy, Roman, Punk versus Cena, Rollins, Drew, and Braun. Those are good teams. Yeah, but I would definitely, if it was me, I would swap Drew out for Fatu because Fatu is, people say he's not ready, but judging by the crowd reactions, he definitely is ready. In my opinion, he definitely is ready. He's as ready as Braun, you know. And when they had that moment in the Rumble where they were face to face, the crowd was on their feet, and and the Rumble is the Rumble is usually a good judge when you see two wrestlers going head to head, where either everybody's cleared out or it feels like nothing is happening other than those two wrestlers facing off. That's usually a good judge of where WWE is probably heading. You know what I mean? We saw it in at the Royal Rumble 1990 with Hogan and Warrior. At the Royal Rumble 2007, it took them 2 years to get there between Taker and Shawn Michaels. And we even saw that 2024 in the Women's Rumble between Jade Cargill and Bianca. You know what I mean? So maybe, but Drew is a good person too. But this war game should be interesting because you got a lot of big players in this. And the way I laid it out, and even the way Master Chef laid it out with his little tweaks of it, you don't need The Rock. You don't need The Rock. You don't need Travis Scott. Because that kind of shit, The Rock not showing up, Travis Scott showing up, take that Travis Scott shit out of here. That's not something fans didn't respond well to that. You know what I mean? Most people hated it. You know what I mean? So, and you don't need that. You know what I'm saying? You don't need the celebrity involvement. So many wrestlers, because the company's on fire now, we're in another boom. So many wrestlers, and one bad WrestleMania does not mean that the boom is over. Yeah, I can see that. One bad WrestleMania doesn't mean the boom is over. I mean, in the thick of the Attitude Era, WrestleMania 15 was shitty. So, you know, and so was WrestleMania 2000. And that was the Attitude Era. And even during the Golden Era, there were bad WrestleManias. WrestleMania 4 was bad. WrestleMania 7 was a terrible WrestleMania. Now, WrestleMania 2 was a bad WrestleMania. So people are saying, oh, the boom period, the third boom period during Triple H's run is over. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, 27 was terrible. But I mean, yeah, 27 was a terrible WrestleMania. Yeah, that was, but I mean, yeah, that was 27, 9, and 11 are the worst WrestleManias in WWE history. 27, 9, 11, 2, and I'd add 41 in that list too. 35 was not bad, but it just went on too long. 33 was bad, the ending. Because, see, WrestleMania is like a movie. What people remember most is the ending, how it ended. And the way WrestleMania 41 ended with, they didn't need Travis Scott. If they weren't going to get The Rock out there, because see what happened, Master Chef, was, and this is what a lot of people are talking about, the clashes between Triple H and The Rock backstage, was that The Rock wanted Cody to turn heel. And Triple H wanted Cena to turn heel. So they went with Triple H's plan instead of The Rock's plan, and The Rock just got pissed about it. And he decided he was, even though he started the Take Your Soul storyline, he started it. He started on SmackDown. But that was stupid too because Wrestling 101 is going to teach us that when a babyface gets an offer from a heel like that, of course he's not going to take it. There has to be some kind of swerve. If The Rock and Travis Scott just came out in Elimination Chamber and all of a sudden Cody and The Rock were hugging, that was going to seem dumb. You had to do some kind of swerve, right? You had to make us believe that Cody wasn't going to take it, and then he takes it. You can't just have him. I mean, that's like, okay, say like this is 1988, right? And Ted DiBiase offers offered Hulk Hogan a chance to buy the WWF Championship off of him, and Hogan was just like, yeah, brother, and he sold him the championship. That was seem stupid, right? It has to be a swerve involved. And The Rock should know this as a veteran in the business. Hell, The Rock's first title reign was a swerve. Him and Vince McMahon were enemies going into Survivor Series 1998, and he swerved the audience. The Rock is not dumb. Like, if he wanted Cody to turn heel, he should have offered Cena the chance and then have Cody do. Right. He should have offered Cena the chance. If you wanted Cody to turn heel, he should have done the opposite. He should have offered Cena the chance to join him as the final boss and then have Cody do the turn. And people would have been like, oh shit, Cody just came out, Cody just turned on the fans and he's left John Cena, him, The Rock, and everything could have been reversed. But the way they did it with Cena turning heel, it shocked a lot of people, but the heel turn is going nowhere. John Cena is struggling to be a heel. You know what I mean? John Cena is really struggling to be this heel. It's not going over the same way that that Hulk Hogan's heel turn did. Because John Cena is likable. Hulk Hogan was not likable. Mm. Right. Master Chef says, yeah, he is struggling because behind the scenes he is helping people out and fans are able to watch it and they're like, yeah, he's not supposed to be a heel. Yeah, because of lack of kayfabe. Yeah. That's the difference too. You got to think the difference between Hulk Hogan's heel run and John Cena's heel run. One, Hulk Hogan wasn't retiring. Like Hulk Hogan didn't say, okay, by the end of 1996, I'll retire. Like, of course, the fans are gonna be on your side when um, when you tell them this is the end for me. This is the last time you'll ever see me. These are fans who grew up with John Cena, and this is the last time they're gonna see them. Of course, they're gonna cheer for him. He's a part of history. He'll be gone soon, so they'll miss him. I mean, what was WWE thinking? You know, right? Hulk Hogan, when he turned heel, he stuck around for years and years. But again, the WWE should have learned their lesson going back to Hulk Hogan. When he came back to the WWE in 2002 and they wanted him to be a heel with the NWO, of course that didn't work out because for 9 years he was gone and the fans in WWE were happy to see him. Not every WWE fan. not every WWE fan watched. Yeah, he's still here after 100 years. Not every WWE fan watched WCW. Many did not, especially those in Canada and those in like where I'm from, New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, Massachusetts, the main WWE states. We didn't really watch WCW like that, and if we did, we only watched it on TV. We weren't able to go there because WCW really didn't come to this part of the country. And in the UK, they didn't really watch WCW either. They were more like WCW was like a southern company, Mississippi, Tennessee, Atlanta. So fans didn't. Some of Hogan's fans hadn't seen him in 9 years since he left WWE in '93. So of course he wasn't going to be a heel. So that's like Cena here. This is the last time we're ever going to see Cena. Why would we boo him? So they should have went with the Rock's plan and turned Cody and not Cena. Because people been wanting Cody to be a heel since he was in AEW. That's why he left AEW, because they wanted him, AEW's creative, Tony Khan, and them wanted him to turn heel because they were booing him out of arenas in AEW before he left. Right? They've been wanting him to turn. Fans have been wanting him to turn heel since AEW. So the smart move is to switch this around and do a double turn. If you could do it in a match, do it in a match, because the double turn in a match, they did it with Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret Hart, and it worked fabulously. If you could do it in a match and turn Cena face and Cody heel again in a rematch, the best way to do is do it that way. You know, because they made a mistake. They turned the wrong guy, and it was obvious at WrestleMania. The guy they should have turned was Cody, because a lot of fans hated Cody. Right. Yeah, Triple H said he talked to Cena, and Cena. Well, that's what I'm saying. Wrestlers know their own characters. They are the characters, right? It's not like in movies where Marvel owns Wolverine or Spider Man, right? So they know those characters and they know if it's a good move for them. And Cena knows his character and he knew it wasn't going to be a good move. But I guess, oh, I'll do it. You know what I mean? Like, I know this is going to suck, but I'll try. I'll try, you know? And it's so far, it's sucked. It's been horrible. You can see him out there, trying to get heat the best way he can. And, fans just loving him more and more. And then to add to that, WWE, by turning Rollins, WWE kind of overshadowed John Cena's heel turn, because now we have a main heel. We don't need Cena. you know, what I mean? Like, you just turn Rollins, and Rollins' heel turn was way better than John Cena's heel turn. You know, you know what I mean? So it's just like 1997. 1997, they turned Bret Hart heel, right? But they also, at the end of 97, turned Shawn Michaels heel. So Bret Hart, at the end of it, was like, well, why did I just turn heel if you're going to turn Shawn Michaels anyway? His heel turn will overshadow my heel turn. you know, you know. So, and yeah, or Yeah, that's what I want to happen. That's what I want to happen. He says he could see Rollins going after Cena, and then that would be when Cena will turn face again. Yeah, all heels are hilarious. Yeah, and if I was a wrestler, I'd want to be a heel too because as a heel you have more. But certain wrestlers can turn heel. I think John Cena is one of them. Sting is another one. Sting is likable. Like Sting tried to turn heel in TNA, he tried to turn heel in WCW in 1999, and nobody ever bought the Stinger as a heel. And some wrestlers are not good as baby faces. People with Rollins, people like the song, you know, they like the song, they like Rollins' theme, but they don't like Rollins. You know what I mean? People were begging to turn him heel again because he has that whiny voice. He, he dresses weird. So people were like, turn him again. He's one of those that he's better as a heel. Heyman as a face. When Solo Sikoa turned on Heyman, like it seemed weird to have Heyman as a baby face. Like you just knew that he was going to turn again. Certain wrestlers can't pull it off. Certain wrestlers can pull it off. To me, I think um, John Cena is not one of those. John Cena should have always been a babyface. Like I said, Sting is another example. Sting didn't work as a heel. Ricky Steamboat never turned heel, never even tried. Mick Foley, once people got to like Mick Foley was never good as a heel. People always liked Mick Foley. Undertaker, people always liked Undertaker. Hmm. Undertaker was always better as a babyface. No, even except when he first came out. Usually when a wrestler first comes out, he's a heel anyway. Because how can you like somebody if you don't know anything about them? It's hard to like them. And when they introduce a new wrestler and they try to turn him face, try to introduce him as a face, like The Rock, as Rocky Maivia, or Chris Jericho's original character in WCW, fans shit all over it because they're like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" You know, you know. So they have to turn him. They have to turn him heel anyway. An example of that is Dominic Mysterio. I want an example. Dom, when he first came out in 2020, they should do something with him and Rollins because him and Rollins have history too. Remember when Rollins in 2020 beat the shit out of him and left like welts all over his body? When he first came out and he was teaming with his dad as the Mysterios, fans hated that. They're like, who the fuck is this kid? Like, get him off my screen. He tried to be a goody two shoes babyface. And it wasn't until he turned on his dad and joined the Judgment Day as Dirty Dom that fans started now they're liking him again. You saw the ovation he got at WrestleMania. He got such a big ovation that he left the ring, came back to the ring, got an even bigger ovation. So there are certain guys that they need to be a heel to get their edge. Roman Reigns was similar. Roman Reigns, for years, they tried to push Roman Reigns as a babyface when he was the big dog. He was main event in WrestleManias, 32, 33, beat Triple H, beat The Undertaker, beat fucking Brock Lesnar, faced Brock Lesnar twice, lost to him once, and then Rollins won another time. But it wasn't until Roman turned heel in 2020 with the Wise Man that we all started to respect Roman and like Roman. And then when he turned back at SummerSlam last year, we're like, okay, now he's different. He's still the tribal chief. He's not the big dog anymore. Fans hated him as a babyface, as the big dog. You know, like that. That was the worst thing old Vince ever did. Big dog Roman, like insisting on pushing this guy to the moon, and people booed him like crazy. I never seen a babyface, a top babyface, get booed the way that Roman got booed from 2014 to 2020. Like they hated this guy. Yeah, because the Undertaker, the loss to the Undertaker. But it was before that, though. It was before that, Master Chief, because when he won the Royal Rumble in 2015, even The Rock coming out to help him couldn't even save him. Granted, they wanted again the Royal Rumble 2015. They wanted Daniel Bryan to win the Royal Rumble. You know what I mean? Because both Daniel Bryan and Roman were injured, and people figured, knowing wrestling, when a guy's injured, he usually comes back and he wins the Royal Rumble. That's how wrestling goes. That's what happened to Edge in 2010. Right? So they figured one of these guys, either Roman Reigns or Daniel Bryan, is going to win the Royal Rumble, and it ended up being Roman Reigns. And people felt like Roman's being shoved down our throats. People liked him when he was in the Shield, right? He was beating everybody's ass when he was in the Shield. But then after the Shield, people didn't like him. Master Chef is right because of the Taker. But even when he beat Triple H at WrestleMania 32, people were still booing him. You know, in 2016, that whole run, it wasn't until we found out that he had leukemia that fans started to really get on his side. And then when he turned heel with Paul Heyman, he became interesting. But before that, he was boring. I mean, remember that episode of SmackDown when Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode poured dog food on him? And like I said, there are certain wrestlers that they can't work as like they tried to. Remember when they tried to introduce Ronda Rousey as a baby face? She was a baby face her first match. Uh, she was a baby face her first match with her and Kurt Angle versus Stephanie McMahon and Triple H at WrestleMania 34. But then people were like, wrestling fans learn what MMA fans already knew is that Ronda Rousey is a crybaby. Ronda Rousey is a sore loser, and she doesn't take criticism well. And they turned on her, and she was the better heel. When she came back the second time, she was a better heel, Ronda Rousey, because they knew that they learned. If you were a fan of both, like I am, I like both wrestling and MMA. I already knew about Ronda Rousey's bullshit in MMA. There's no heels and baby faces in MMA, but there's fighters you like and fighters you don't like. You know, and they thought because she was popular in MMA that they could push her to the moon in WWE and make her as popular in WWE, and it just didn't work out. You know, she wasn't gonna be well liked by the fans. Another example, Charlotte Flair. They sometimes try to put Charlotte Flair as a baby face, but Charlotte's a heel. People despise Charlotte. People say that Charlotte, only gets by in her name. So every time they try to turn her, it never really works. Another example, right now, Becky Lynch with her heel turn. Becky Lynch, to me, sucks as this new heel turn. Like you could tell that she's trying too hard to be a heel, yelling and screaming, acting all hysterical. Becky Lynch to me works more as a baby face. You know what I mean? In my opinion. And they're going to the well one too many times. They say, "Oh, who attacked Bailey?" Right? Who who injured Bailey, keeping her out of WrestleMania? And then she goes, "It was me." They just didn't. Yeah, David says Becky Lynch should never turn heel. They just did this storyline. They just did this mystery opponent, mystery attacker storyline with Jade Cargill and Naomi. Like, how many times are they gonna reach into "I did it for The Rock"? You know, Next thing you know, she's gonna say that the Rock wanted to take Bailey out, and and she like how they talk like they did this like when they're doing this. you know, I mean, like, come on, they just did this same storyline with Naomi and Jay Cargill. They're doing this again. Like Triple H is out of ideas. It seems like you know, you know. Nah, the WWE Championship. The Becky thing was like, oh man, I hated that. I hate that. And like, okay, if you're gonna have Becky turn heel, what was the next night on Raw? What was the point of her and Lyra winning the tag team championships from Raquel and Liv Morgan at WrestleMania? Like, what sense did that make? just for them to keep it for a day. I hate when they do that. I hate when like somebody will win a title and it'll be for like a day, and then like, okay, what was the point of that then? Like, and then they drop it the next night on Raw. Like, oh, for that, just have them retain. Raquel and Liv were on a roll. Why have them drop it just for the night and then win it back on Raw? That was like the mistake they made in '98 with Kane. Kane's on a roll. Kane should have had a proper win against Austin. He wins against Austin in the first blood match at King of the Ring, only to hold it for one night so Austin wins it back. So just have Austin retain. And they say, oh, well, you can't have. Uh, so you wanted Becky to get the pop returning, taking the spot away from Raquel and Liv and taking the spot away from Bailey, only to have her turn the next night, just have her turn in the match. And that would kill two birds with one stone. And Raquel and Liv retain the championships. I think they panicked because they thought that fans would like Becky coming back with Lyra and winning the title. But Triple H, he said on the interview with Peter Rosenberg, he said that he doesn't listen to the fans, right? That we should just shut up and enjoy it and just be fans, right? But it seems like in his booking, he listens to us all the time. For example, the classic example, the Becky Lynch storyline. I think he expected that Becky Lynch would come back as a babyface and fans would love it, but then fans started calling her Becky Hogan, and then and then he switched it, and he had them drop the belts, and he had her turn on Lyra. Knowing Triple H, he'll have Finn Balor. He'll think that the fans want Finn Balor to be the babyface in the Judgment Day, and instead of having the Judgment Day turn on Dom and Dom be the babyface like it should be, he'll have Finn Balor be the babyface, even though the fans don't like Finn Balor. They want Dom. They don't want Finn Balor. And then with this whole Gunther storyline, you ruined Gunther, right? Only to do this Pat McAfee storyline. What's the point of that? Ruining a perfectly good wrestler that's supposed to be a monster heel and was your King of the Ring winner of 2024, right? Only to have him tap out to Jey Uso. Not pass out, tap out. So now you can make fun of him and say, "Oh, you tapped out," and have him. Now I like the whole thing with McAfee, but you didn't have to have him tap out for that. You just could have had him lose, right? He loses to Jey Uso somehow, and then Pat McAfee and Michael Cole are yeeting like they did. They yeet every time. So while they're yeeting, he's like, "Stop yeeting," and then he does the same thing. But you didn't have to have him tap out to Jey Uso. And now, if they have the match at Backlash with him and McAfee, and Gunther loses to Pat McAfee, that's it for Gunther. Gunther will be nothing in WWE uh, because now you've tapped out the Jey Uso, you lost to freaking an announcer. you know, nobody's gonna. Gunther must win at Backlash, because if he doesn't, that's it for Gunther. You can call it quits. They'll turn him into a comedy gimmick, which is what they do to all menacing heels. Once they lose their edge and they begin to lose a number of matches, like David is saying, Kane in 2010, or another example is like when they turn Rusev into comedy. Rusev was fearless. He was a feared heel in uh, in 2015, 2014. By the time we get around to like 2018, 2019, he's doing comedy shit, and he's in a cuckold storyline with Bobby Lashley kissing all over Lana. Same thing with Great Khali. Even though people didn't like the Great Khali, uh, he was a heel, a vicious heel, a foreign heel. Then all of a sudden he's dancing around, with the Kali kiss can. So if they have Gunther lose to Pat McAfee, they'll turn Gunther into another joke, and then that'll be the end of him. Vladimir Kozlov, another example. So, but the question is, who wins Money in the Bank this year? Maybe Sammy could win. Maybe Logan Paul. Maybe Braun. And that, if Seth is champion and Braun wins Money in the Bank, And that will lead to a conflict of interest between them, between Braun and Seth. This is going to be a good year for Braun Breaker, though. Like, man, if they drop the ball with Braun Breaker, then that's the end of Triple H. But I don't think they will. I think Braun Breaker will be Triple H's. He'll be Triple H's Hulk Hogan, because Triple H doesn't have a guy that he could mold into his image like Vince did Hogan. Because when Vince first took over WWE in 1982 from his father, the father didn't like Hulk Hogan. He fired him, right? And Vince brought him back, and Vince made him the face of his WWE. Triple H has yet to have that star that's uniquely his. Everybody that we see now is somebody that Vince McMahon made, even Cody Rhodes to some extent. You know, Vince was behind Cody. Vince was behind Roman Reigns. Vince was behind all these guys that we see now. There's nobody there that is just a Triple H creation. Only Triple H's regime. And Braun could be that guy. Sami could be another one of those guys, of his players. Because you need your players. Every time you get a new person in creative, they put different people in power. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of this video, guys. Thank you, David and Master Chef, for contributing. Master Chef, like and subscribe, man. Appreciate it. Peace.